Guys, Deadpool and Wolverine is finally here. The movie that's supposed to save Marvel and bring back the MCU and its splendor back to the big screen. Because trust me, it wasn't going to be any of these other projects they were working on. Like, what the hell even is that? What's going on? What the fuck? Well, it seems like there's a lot riding on this film. A lot of people seem to give it importance due to the current state of the MCU movies, me included. I was hoping that this movie would be the one to bring back that spark into the MCU that it once had, that once big splendor it had. Whenever you go to the cinema and you watch a film, and it's just constant cheering and loud noises, and I can barely hear the film and what's going on, and it's so loud I can't hear anything. It's scary. What's going on? Be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. But does this film actually live up to that hype? Kinda? I think it does. I liked it personally. It's not perfect, but it's fun. It seems to go out of its way to break established rules with multiverse and time travel being in all these movies, and it just kind of throws that to the side and just says, hey, we're gonna have fun, and you're not supposed to question anything. Just go with the flow and try not to think too hard about what's going on. And honestly, a movie like this is best enjoyed not thinking too much about the rules and logic of the universe. Because at the end of the day, it's my engagement that matters. And as long as I'm invested in the story and what's going on, then that's all that really matters. This is a spoiler-free review, so I will not be going into any spoilers for you guys. Now, let me just start off by saying I liked the first Deadpool movie. I thought it was pretty fun. Not a big fan of the second one. Just had a lot of really lame jokes in it, in my opinion. It wasn't really all that funny. I liked Cable. I liked the dynamic between Cable and Deadpool. I thought that was pretty fun. But that's about all I really got out of it. And I'm going to be just honest right off the bat. I haven't really watched many X-Men movies. I did watch Logan though, so I am coming from that perspective of at least having seen that movie. So I know a bit about this version of the character, even if I haven't watched every single X-Men movie. I'm not a big MCU nerd. I'm sorry, guys. I've seen all the other MCU movies, just not the X-Men ones. So immediately what's on my mind is this is the first rated R MCU film, so it differentiates itself from the other ones in that respect. So at least I'm not expecting to see the exact same MCU things that I've seen before already. That's what you pretty much get right off the bat. There is this pretty fun fight sequence in the beginning that's really stylized and really bloody. And really fun, really well choreographed, well shot for the most part. And most fight sequences in this movie are like that. They're all pretty well done. Big shout outs to the choreographer and the director. Fun action sequences, pretty great. So in simplest terms, the basic plot is Deadpool needs to save his timeline because something is going to happen to it. And in order to do that, he needs to recruit Wolverine to help him and stop the evil bad guy, I guess you could say. So he needs to jump across timelines and find another Wolverine. And that's basically where he finds the Wolverine that we've seen in the trailers, and they do the whole Deadpool and Wolverine shtick. You know, that's what the movie's called. You know, that's what you're here to see. And their dynamic is quite fun. I mean, it's very similar. It's very similar to the Cable and Deadpool dynamic from the second Deadpool film. Only this time you feel a bit more connected to the character of Wolverine. Because even though it's not the same Wolverine that we saw in Logan and all those other X-Men films, it's still pretty much the same self-loathing Wolverine that we know. And he has his own reasons for being the way he is in this film, and you feel for him. You really do. You know that even though it's not the same Wolverine, it feels very much like that Wolverine. So it's not too different. You know, Deadpool's whole motivation for the film is he wants to save his friends, he wants to save his timeline, and they make sure to, you know, rail that into you with lots of flashbacks and lots of emotional beats with Deadpool, but you don't really get to spend any time with those characters in this movie. It feels like they were just there in the beginning and then they just don't come back again until the very end. So they're not really important in this movie. They're more so there just to be motivations for Deadpool. And with Logan, you know, like as I said, it's not the same Logan as we've seen before, but it's a similar Logan. But this one, he's lost everything. He's depressed. He's self-loathing, but to like a higher extent in this film. But they don't really have that much time to focus on his story. You know, there's already so much going in this movie already, with all the cameos and all the other stories being told at the exact same time. And in that respect, it does feel kind of messy, but the interactions between them are still fun. You know, so much so that I would like to see these two interact more in the future. So some pros I can mention about the film. As I said, the action's pretty spectacular. The character interactions between Deadpool and Wolverine are pretty funny for the most part. The humor itself lands for the most part as well, but there's just some jokes that just go on for way too long and they put a halt to everything to continue this joke. Mostly it all comes from Deadpool and they just don't land. A lot of his jokes do, some of them just, they're not funny to begin with, and he just continues saying it, and by the time he's already like a minute into the joke, you're like, okay dude, come on. In which case, the plot is probably my biggest gripe with this film.
The story isn't really the main focus here. It's more or less a backdrop so that there's a reason for Deadpool and Wolverine to be there and introduce them to the MCU, along with showing all the other cameos, which there are a ton of. There's so many other character cameos shown here that it's kind of nuts. They don't really flesh them out or anything. They're more so there just for you to point at the screen, have your mouth open, and just scream, "Oh, I know that guy!" and have another fun action sequence. Ultimately, I don't think that's a bad thing here, since I think that's when it's at its best. Just having all these characters interact with each other and showing them fight is super fun. You don't really feel the extremely high stakes the villain sets up in the beginning because the tone of the movie just doesn't really allow for that. In which case the villain, or villains plural, aren't really fleshed out either, especially one of them, which is more so kind of a joke and honestly completely forgettable. The other one is better, but they're nothing to really write home about. You kind of feel how powerful they are and the fact that they can just literally end Deadpool and Wolverine whenever they feel like it. And towards the end, they basically just feel like being more evil kind of out of nowhere just because they feel like it. Even still, I wouldn't say they are one of Marvel's best villains, but definitely not the worst. Just kind of in the middle ground. Ultimately, I really enjoyed it. I would love to see more Deadpool and Wolverine content together in the future. Their dynamic was pretty fun and entertaining. The sort of meta Deadpool humor that people like has kind of started to wear down on me a bit, honestly, though. Especially when he's just making fun of the kind of movie that people are tired of seeing, but yet he's in that same movie he's joking about. He just doesn't come off as funny as when he's paired with someone else where his comedy has something to bounce back from. Anyways, I'd probably give this a 3 out of 5. It pretty much exceeded at what it set out to do, which is make me point at the screen a couple times, laugh a bit, give me some creative and fun fight sequences, albeit ignoring some of the beats that make a memorable story. But in this case, that's probably fine. I think Marvel needed a win here, and this is pretty much it. I wonder what they're going to do about movies with R ratings now, and how they're going to include those characters into the overall story, or if they're just going to
keep those R-rated movies separate from the overall bigger story as a whole. Anyways, I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.